If you're a busy man that's stuck at a fat loss plateau right now, you're having a very difficult time managing your career and finding a way to see a change in the mirror and on the scale as well, and you haven't seen many changes at all whatsoever in the past few months, and you don't know what to do next, you're definitely going to want to watch this video in full because I'm going to show you the 2 reasons why you're stuck at a fat loss plateau right now and what you can do to actually break out of it with specific strategies. My name is Bobby O'Brien, and I help career-driven men lose their stubborn belly fat and get a flat stomach without having to count, track, or restrict a single calorie, or without having to do a second of cardio. And the main reason why we follow a much different approach in comparison to what most fitness coaches are doing in the fitness industry is because I'm an apprentice of a medical doctor with 40 plus years of clinical experience. So we follow more of a hormonal-based, scientific-based approach with our clients that we work with one-on-one. So we don't follow the conventional methods of counting calories, counting macros, or any other quantity-based approach that does not address the root cause of weight gain. So we're going to get into that here today, so let's just jump right into it. The 2 questions that we always want to ask ourselves whenever we're stuck at a fat loss plateau is 1, how long have we been doing this diet or exercise regimen for? And then what are we actually doing to break out of this plateau and actually see consistent progress? Because it could be working or it may not be, because it comes down to you either not liking what you're doing right now or you just have no clue what you should be doing right now instead, and you're just confused, right? Either way, you're gonna get those questions answered in this video. So let's say we've been doing this specific, let's say we've just been following a random diet here for 2 months and we've been sticking to it 80% of the time each week, and we've seen 0 changes in the mirror and on the scale. That's an obvious sign, red flag, that what we're doing is not working. We've identified the 2 obvious ones here, right? How long, based on your current situation, how long have you been doing this specific diet or exercise regimen for? And then what are you currently doing based on the current situation you're in right now with your fat loss plateau? You'll be able to easily answer these questions, right? Because you guys are trying to lose weight right now and you're doing things, right? And the first thing that you are most likely going to try, many of you, would be a caloric deficit, right? That's what most men would look to try first. It's by far the most obvious thing that you would do because every fitness influencer advocates for you to do a caloric deficit, about 90% of them. Now the problem with doing a caloric deficit is that it does not address the root cause of weight gain. If you're new here, you'll find out soon as you watch these videos that I'm not a big fan of a caloric deficit for that very reason. You're not addressing the root cause of weight gain. The root cause of fat storage around our organs, which really causes us to have belly fat, and the fat storage around our skin is really caused by insulin. Insulin is an anabolic hormone that is responsible for fat storage. And if we're looking to lose belly fat right now, you most likely have a little bit more in the way of visceral fat, which is the fat that is built up around your organs. And that usually does not happen from you overeating and eating too much in the way of calories. It's what is being done with those specific calories that you're eating, with that specific food quality. What is going on whenever you consume this specific food? What happens physiologically whenever you consume food? Are you getting a very strong insulin response where this hormone stays elevated for hours on end and your likelihood of storing body fat is very high because your blood glucose levels and your insulin levels are elevated for a very long time? Or are you just getting no insulin response at all whatsoever and your likelihood of storing body fat is 0%, which is exactly what we want. But none of that is addressed when we just focus on the quantity of our food. Now trust me, of course, you will be able to lose weight if you expend more than what you're taking in. It's obvious, it's scientifically proven. But what also is scientifically proven with the study that I'll reference down below, this is a 62-week study that looked at a large group of both men and women and looked at what happened whenever these people chronically restricted themselves of calories and put themselves in a deficit and were expending more than what they were taking in. The results were actually pretty astounding, and many of the participants stopped participating in the study because they couldn't stick with a caloric deficit because it sucked so much. And the reason why it sucked so much was because their ghrelin levels, your hunger hormone levels, went up. Leptin, a satiety hormone, and peptide YY, another satiety hormone, the hormone that is responsible for you feeling full, went down. So they were already hungrier and less satiated in comparison to when they started, and they had a lower metabolic rate. Their metabolic rate continued to go further and further down. And that's the last thing that you guys want that are super busy with your careers. You got a lot going on. You have to provide for yourself or your family, and now your metabolism is slowing down just for some weight loss. It's not worth it, right? The reward is not worth the risk when doing a caloric deficit. And that was shown in this study. So cortisol levels went up, sympathetic nervous system activity went up, which kind of explains why cortisol went up. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Ghrelin levels went up, hunger hormone levels. Leptin levels went down, so satiety levels went down, and their metabolic rate decreased. So you can see why some of the participants did not continue to participate in this study, because it sucks so much to do a caloric deficit. And the dumbest part about this is that it does not address the root cause of what's going on here, which is insulin. So there's many influencers and coaches that will tell you that you can eat whatever you want and be in a caloric deficit. Yeah, sure, but then you're gonna suffer from the health consequences that come by you consuming whatever you want, by being in a deficit, and then all of a sudden it's not really worth it to be following such a pretty sounding method like that whenever you have a lower metabolic rate in comparison to when you started. Sympathetic nervous system activity is up, your cortisol levels are up, which is the last thing that you guys need, and you're hungrier and less satiated, and you have all these other issues that you're gonna run into whenever you're consuming ice cream, donuts, or anything else that you're choosing to eat whenever you're in a deficit. It's a typical marketing scheme. You can eat whatever you want, but be in a deficit and still see weight loss. That weight loss won't be worth it whenever you're suffering with all those issues after you've gone through the whole process, right? So at the end of the day, a caloric deficit does not address the root cause of weight gain. So if you're doing that right now and your weight's kind of jumping up and down, you have a difficult time sticking to it, you should probably change your diet right now and do something different. And I'm going to give you the substitution here in a moment. Steve, by the way, he did not have to count, track, or restrict a single calorie. He's lost 40 pounds in 4 months. We started working together back in March, and he's at his lowest weight in 6 years, and he has a flat stomach now. He's a network engineer that's super, super busy, and he used to count and restrict calories with an in-person trainer, and it didn't really work out for him. And he comes into this program and eats more food than he ever has, and he loses that much weight. So that anecdote alone, along with the study that I just referenced, should be enough for you to know that if you're doing a deficit right now, a caloric deficit, and you're not seeing sustainable weight loss, and if you've been doing it off and on with going through maintenance, cutting, etc. for about a year or more, you haven't been able to see that number on the scale stay where it needs to be, it's time to do something different. And if you're ready to do something different, then click the link on the top, middle, or bottom of the video description to speak with me directly to see if I can help you get a flat stomach even with your real busy work schedule and without being in a deficit. So we can cross this one off right off the bat if you're doing that. And then that goes along with any other counting, tracking, restricting calorie method, right? So we can just write calories here, right? And cross that one off because you're going for the same thing whenever you're tracking, counting, and restricting calories. The whole purpose of that is to be in a caloric deficit, right? So you can track your calories and ensure that you're expending more energy than what you're taking in. So we can dismiss that right off the bat as well. It's basically the same thing. Now, food weighing. This is my favorite. Some of you guys are weighing your food right now. Unbelievable. Same thing, right? You're going to notice the same theme here. Another quantity-oriented approach that doesn't address the root cause of weight gain. If you can't answer that question with 100% conviction that yes, I can do this the rest of my life, it doesn't matter what we're talking about here, you need to make some sort of change, right? So if you're weighing your food, you're just looking at quantity, you're not addressing the quality of your food and the hormonal impact that's going to have on insulin, you're not addressing the root cause of weight gain at all whatsoever. It's very similar to counting and restricting calories for the purpose of being in a deficit. That's a huge waste of your time. And you guys do not need to waste your time right now. So next one here, one of my personal favorites is portion control, right? Another quantity-based method. A lot of you guys want to make sure that the food that you're putting onto your plate doesn't take up too much room. And quantity only becomes a problem when the quality is off, right? So if I'm eating a plate of cookies, okay, maybe I should control my portions a little bit more because I'm not going to get any amount of satiety, right, from eating these cookies. Or I'm not going to get near as much of a strong satiety response and feel full with these cookies in comparison to eating just one ribeye, right? One has every water-soluble vitamin, all the B vitamins, all the fat-soluble vitamins that you need that are essential, and the other has nothing but bleached wheat flour. So obviously, you have to look at quantity if you're cheating, right? That's the only time you may have to look at quantity to a certain extent, so you don't overeat garbage when you're cheating, right? But if you are eating foods that are of high quality that are not going to spike insulin for hours on end, then you don't really have to control the quantity because the quality is going to take care of the quantity, right? So if I'm eating foods that are going to satiate me and give me a good insulin response every single time I eat, I don't need to worry about the quantity of the food that I'm eating because I'm in a position where my likelihood to store body fat is 0%. And if anything, if you eat more of those high quality foods, your metabolic rate will go up higher than it was before whenever you were restricting yourself. And the reason for that is whenever the demand for fuel goes up, the amount of fuel that we're consuming increases, we have to meet homeostasis in the human body and increase our metabolic rate, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to meet our state of balance, which is what homeostasis is here. It's a metabolic adaptation, right? To meet homeostasis, our state of balance, lowering our metabolic rate because now there's less fuel coming in. We always want to put ourselves in a position, right? Our bodies want to ensure that we are not in a position to starve or die or take steps towards mortality. So if there's less fuel coming into the body, we're going to metabolically adapt and decrease our metabolic rate. Why would we increase our metabolic rate? We're going to be taking steps closer and closer towards starvation if we do that. Same thing goes for eating more in the way of high quality foods that are going to serve us well. We're going to metabolically adapt and increase our metabolic rate because now there's more fuel coming in that we have to adapt to. So anyone that's told you that you always have to eat less and do a bunch of fasted cardio, it's BS. So definitely killed that one. But now what about exercise, right? We've pretty much dismissed basically any quantity-based approach, right? And any other quantity-based approach that is out there that I did not mention in this video so far with the caloric deficit, food weighing, or portion control, you can dismiss with the exact same philosophy that I just went over. One, not addressing the root cause of weight gain, and two, you're focusing on something that is just going to worsen the symptoms that you're experiencing with weight gain if you're just focusing on the quantity of your food. So next one here, common thing that people are doing is cardio. Right, of course I had to throw that one in at the end. So I'm not saying don't do cardio at all whatsoever. Just don't make cardio the main component of your workout regimen, right? Let's say we're going to the gym 5 times per week. If you're doing 4 cardio sessions a week and then just 1 weight training session per week, that's just a random example, but that's something that you should not be doing, letting cardio take up the overwhelming majority of your workout regimen. And the reason why is because you're not going to get the same metabolic reaction that you would normally be getting with weight training. So if you're targeting each muscle group each week with weight training, you're going to get a bigger metabolic boost, and you're going to be able to save more time with your busy schedule and knock those workouts out faster because you're not going to have to worry about being on the treadmill for 45 minutes trying to get your heart rate up to the same level that you would be able to get it to if you were able to just do 75 pounds, right, on a goblet squat for just 10 reps. And many of you guys that don't train legs especially too often, you will notice that your heart rate goes up very, very high, very, very quickly. So you're getting a better bang for your buck in a shorter amount of time and still getting more in the way of benefits. When it comes to exercising for the perspective of losing body fat, you just want to target each muscle group each week, boost your metabolism so you can eat more of the foods that are going to serve you well and continue to ramp up that metabolic rate even more with your diet by eating more, right? So you're kind of getting the cycle here. So you won't be able to get those same benefits if you're making cardio the main component of your routine, because you're not going to be breaking down your muscle fibers and forcing them to grow with just running on the treadmill aimlessly or doing some cycling or any other cardio that you want to use as an example. So it's going to be more time efficient. You're going to see more in the way of benefits, the most important benefit being a greater metabolic reaction. So prioritize weight training over cardio. You don't have to completely throw it away, but I just would not make cardio the main component of your weight training routine based on everything that we just went over. For example, Joe, he works in sales. He lost 20 pounds in his first 2 months and lost pretty much all his belly fat. And he didn't have to do a second of cardio. He did cardio on his own time. And the whole workout routine that I fully customized for him was all weight training based. And before he started working with me, he was stuck around 214 for a long time. And the moment we started working together, he started dropping weight and dropping belly fat because we fixed his diet and his workout routine, right? So now that we've gone over what you should not be doing right now, if you're currently stuck at a fat loss plateau, now we should go over what you should be doing or what you should be doing instead over here on the left, right? So ignore these, right? And then do this. And then you guys can screenshot this after once we've gone over everything, right? But this is going to be really, really important stuff. Basically going to just wrap up what we've already talked about so far, right? So first thing here is we want to focus on quality over quantity, right? And that's for the food that we're consuming. It's right food right there. And then we want to focus on the hormonal implications of the quality of the food that we're consuming as well over just the quantity. So we're gonna write down hormonal implications. Right here for food quality. And the one hormone we really want to focus on, I'll put it in parentheses here, is of course going to be insulin, ultimate predictor of how much body fat you're going to lose or gain. And then instead of focusing on doing a whole bunch of cardio, we actually want to focus on doing weight training. And that's really about it. I know I really oversimplified it here and my handwriting sucks, so hopefully you can read that. But what I really want to just emphasize here as well is that everyone's routine is going to look different. Everybody's split's going to look different based on their schedule. Everyone's going to have their own allergies and limitations. So you just have to find a way to tailor all this information that I gave you today to your specific limitations and your schedule, right? Michael, he really benefited from coaching and he even had experience with studying and teaching nutrition, but he still needed a little bit of help and he was stuck at a fat loss plateau for a very long time. And he has now dropped 30 pounds in a span of 2.5 months. And he's lost a ridiculous amount of belly fat as well. And he used to work with an in-person trainer. And as you can see right here, I've helped him more than any other trainer by not only focusing on what he should be doing, but paying attention on what he should not be doing so he could utilize his time in the best way possible. He was working long hours at his desk with a really busy job that was very demanding, and he needed something that was going to work for his schedule. So that's why getting a customized plan that's tailored to you is going to be very, very helpful. And if that's something that you would like me to do for you, you're more than welcome to click the link on the top, middle, or bottom of the video description to speak with me directly. Or if you have any questions about what we went over in this video, or for me specifically, you can click the link in the middle of the video description to speak with me on Instagram. So that is it for this video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Book that call if you're interested in speaking with me, and I will see you guys in the next video.